Alright guys, welcome back to the shop. So today is the last day of this project. Hopefully, maybe, probably not. But we're going to aim for it to be the last day of the project. By the end of today, I want to have the first coat of finish on it, and that will be all that we're doing. So we got a long list of stuff we got to get through. It's a short day in the shop, so I got to just kind of get to work, put my head down, and just smash through them. So first thing, we have to add our blocks about the headboard and footboard to help support those center rails on the headboard and footboard ends, because there's not really any support on those areas. From there, we're going to take all the poplar off the bed frame here and add a 1/8 round over to it, and then we might do some little finish sanding with some 220 grit. Then once that's done, we'll go through and finish up the back of the headboard, because like I said yesterday, we were leaving that to let the glue tack up, and now I checked it this morning, it's already tacked up, it's all good to go. Then finally, we'll get the shop all cleaned up, just as dust free as I possibly can get it, and then we'll apply that first coat of finish. With those blocks in place, there's absolutely no movement anymore. I'm not screwing anything to those blocks we put in. They're just going to sit there, and you're just going to drop these rails right on top of them, and everything sits just fine. So as you guys saw there in that little bit of a stress test, I'm able to put my full body weight on each of these middle sections of this board without any flexing and only minor creaking. Now, creaking is one of those things you're never really going to get away with wood. It's always going to happen. And it's mainly because there's only one slat on here right now. So this whole structure can still move around a little bit. Once we have all 7 slats on here, there really shouldn't be any movement to it. So with a little bit of redneck math, we can pretty easily tell how much this bed can carry. So if I can put my full weight on each corner of this slat here without really anything noticeable happening, the board's not bending, anything like that, I know that each corner can hold up to 150 pounds. So we multiply that by 2 for the length of the slat here, and that's 300 pounds. Then we can multiply that by 7 to get about 2,000 pounds. So this bed should be able to more than carry about 2,000 pounds of weight distributed evenly on top of it. Again, if 2,000 pounds was to drop right on one corner, it's probably going to break. But again, that's the whole point of having the number of slots that we have here, as well as putting a mattress on top of this. It'll help disperse the weight overall. And so this should be able to hold more than enough weight for the average family household. You should be able to put a mattress and your entire family on top of it without anything coming down on you. You should also theoretically be able to crawl in from underneath the headboard there and hide under it during a tornado. So now we're going to take all the poplar out of here and start putting some just simple edge profiles on all the poplar to make it so that it's not going to injure anyone when you're handling it, because it is very, very sharp. So I'm actually not going to go in and add a round over, because if I do that, then it's going to make all of my alignment marks that I put on here in pencil very hard to actually align with each other, because we'll have that rounded edge, so things aren't going to visually be as easy to line up. Whereas if we keep this slightly square edge, it's going to be just marginally easier. So I think I'm just going to go over all the edges of my block plane and just break the edges just slightly, not enough that we're going to distort those alignment lines, but enough that, you're not going to hurt your hands when handling this stuff. The one thing I also forgot to mention is just dealing with this poplar is just so bizarre, because like this piece is the same as the pieces that make up our side rails, but out of poplar, it's just like, it's so light, it doesn't really weigh anything. Whereas the same piece out of maple was like stupidly heavy just on its own. Okay, so we got the shop mostly dust free. I've cleared out the dust from, mainly around the bed. I haven't done like a deep clean of the shop because I do not have time for that today, because that's a whole nother story. But we're now going to move on to doing the Osmo Finish on here. Now, I will be completely honest with you guys, I am terrified to do this. This has been kind of the biggest stress with this project is using a finish that I don't have a ton of experience with. But as far as I can tell, and from my tests that I've done, Osmo is very similar to Tried and True, but also completely different. It's still a fairly natural oil finish where you just rub it on and you just, it's pretty easy in that way. But the big difference between it and Tried and True is that you really can't let it gob up. Because it has those drying agents and overall a faster curing time, it's going to start to set up a lot faster. So if you have puddles in that, that's going to show up in your final finish and it's not going to look great. Whereas with like Tried and True, you guys have seen it. I basically just kind of gob it on there, I rub it in, and then an hour later I come back and wipe off any excess. Whereas with Osmo, you want to put on a very good thin coat the first time, and then very quickly, as soon as you finish that first coat, go back over and buff all your surfaces with another clean, non-abrasive pad, and this will help take off any excess and help kind of overall even out and level the surface. It's definitely going to be a little bit more of a high stress finish compared to Tried and True. Tried and True is still my preferred, but the reason I'm using Osmo on this project is purely because it's got a different combination of natural oils. So just going off of the ingredients here, Osmo is made from sunflower oil, soybean oil, thistle oil, carnauba wax, and candela wax. Now the main thing here is the oils. The known thing about like linseed oils, which is what Tried and True oils are based off of, is it will always darken the wood or make it a little bit more of an amber or yellow tone. Whereas with Osmo, it's supposed to give you much more natural tones. So that's why I'm using it on the maple here, is because if I know that if I apply a linseed-based oil like the Tried and True oils, it's going to go a little bit more on the yellow side, which is what I want to avoid. Whereas the Osmo should keep it a little bit more on the natural side. Now that being said, if I wanted to keep the full natural color of this maple bed, then the best thing would be to go with a water-based finish. Now I have never used a water-based finish before in my life. I don't know how to use them. I don't know all the technical sides that come into them because there is a massive difference between using an oil-based finish and a water-based finish. And generally speaking, for the furniture that I build, I wouldn't want to use a water-based finish anyway, because water-based finishes are horrible on woods like walnut and white oak, and overall I just don't think that they're that great. Now, everyone is open to their own finishing opinions. I just generally prefer, oil finishes because I think that they work a little bit better. But again, it's really personal preference, to each their own. It is done, it is completed, except for obviously one more coat that I have to do tomorrow. But as far as you guys are concerned in the video here, the bed is now done. This first coat of Osmo looks spectacular. The finish came out beautifully. It didn't change the color of the wood to a point that I'm not happy with it. We do have a little bit of yellowing, but of course that's always going to happen with any oil finish. And it'll tone down slightly as it cures up. And then over time it'll go yellow anyway. But it looks absolutely beautiful. The colors, everything, all the figure that's coming through. We've got a whole bunch of like bird's eye up in the top of the headboard here that I didn't even know was in there. Just overall, it looks spectacular. Now, real quickly, I have to say that I'm not a fan of Osmo, and I probably won't be using it very much in the future. Obviously, I have to finish off this can. Unless I do more projects in maple, I probably won't be using Osmo, purely because I'm not a huge fan of it. And the only reason for that is not because it's a bad finish. As you can tell, I'm super happy with the results of it. The biggest thing is I hate the smell of it. I used to work at this camp where we had these big outdoor flammable storage buildings. And so when you would open the door in the summer, you would just get this waft of naphtha because we had a lot of camp stoves in that, and it smelled horrible. And that's exactly what the shop smells like right now. Even though I've been venting it out, I'm not able to open the garage door right now because the wind is coming right into it. I don't want to blow a ton of dust in. But I've been shooting the air out the back door and through the open window that I have and just kind of keeping the air circulating with my air filter. And it still smells pretty bad in here. And especially when you have the can kind of moving around in front of you, you're just getting that pure naphtha smell constantly. It's not enjoyable. Now, the one benefit I do see to Osmo is its curing time. Now, obviously, that is one of the biggest differences between Osmo and the tried and true oils that I normally use. Already, this finish is starting to tack up, whereas with like tried and true oils, I would be coming back in about an hour from now to come back and wipe off any excess. Whereas now, I've already wiped off all the excess and it's already starting to tack up. That means that tomorrow, by the time I come back into the shop to recoat it, it should be fully cured up. So that is a super fast dry time. The can says 8 to 10 hours, so you compare that to tried and true oils, which take 24 hours. That's a pretty big difference. Now, obviously, the whole reason that the Osmo can cure that quickly is because of the naphtha that is in it in order to thin it down and make it cure faster. You know, that's just how the science of finishes work. You either need to have some kind of drying agent in the oil, or you need to thin it down enough so that it cures up fast. And that's basically the exact difference between Osmo and something like tried and true. Is there's a thinning compound in there that makes it so the oil can cure up a little bit quicker. All that's left is delivering it to the customer, which is going to be a show all of its own, because I'm going to have to rent a small U-Haul trailer in order to get this thing anywhere, because there's no way I'm going to safely pack that in the back of my truck. So that is going to be super interesting. I may try to film some of that and include it in Sunday's video, because we're going to be talking about the bed on Saturday. You guys will get to see whatever I end up actually being able to film and do. So as always, guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video. I do hope you enjoyed this project, and I will see you in the next one.